Welcome back. Now we answer questions we've received from you, our viewers. If you have a question, visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com. Dr. Shabir, here's our question. What happens to children who die at a young age? Do they go to paradise?
It's an interesting question. In fact, it has been answered variously among Muslim scholars in our past, and maybe even to this day. But the predominant view is that children, being innocent as they are, they haven't committed deliberate sins consciously, as morally capable, being capable of making this kind of moral decision. And so they are taken as innocents, and they are actually preserved in paradise. So why do some think that maybe they will be in hellfire? Well, among the early Muslims, questions like this were discussed, and or that they could be, not that they will be, but nobody says that they will be, but potentially. So questions like this were discussed among Muslims early on, and when Muslims discussed this, they reported different things. Sometimes people misremember, and they attribute different things to the Prophet, peace be upon him. So there is a narrative that says that there was a child whose burial was being proceeded with. And the mother of the believers, Aisha, remarked, "Usfur min asafir al-Jannah." This is one of the birds of paradise. And then the Prophet, peace be upon him, cautioned her, like, how do you know? Because God knows what they would have done. So this hadith relates to the Muslim concept that God has a Muslim concept, I should say, not the Muslim concept, because most Muslims don't have this concept nowadays, but it has been a classical concept, a concept that according to which God has already foreknown all of the possible deeds of a person. Not only the possible deeds, but what exactly the person will do. So God has already determined who is going to paradise and who is going to hell based on that knowledge of what deeds these persons will do. And this hadith has the flavor of saying that if this child had grown up, this child would have done the very deeds which God knew that this child would do if this child grew up. And if these happen to be bad deeds, and this child would be in hellfire. Not because the child actually did the deeds, but because of God knowing that the child will do those deeds if the child grew up. Of course, this makes no sense in terms of the overall scheme of Islamic tradition about, freedom and responsibility. Like, we have the free choice, and then we have a responsibility for our actions, and only the actions that we actually perform will be held against us. See, if you intended to do something but you change your mind, or you didn't even get a chance to do it, you're not going to be held responsible because you didn't actually do the crime. Right? You do the time because you did the crime. And this hadith almost is saying, the child will have to do the time even though the child didn't do the crime, but because God knew that if the child had a longer life, the child would have committed those crimes.
So you don't think the hadith is authentic?
I wouldn't credit that to the Prophet, peace be upon him, because it goes against so much of what Islamic tradition really stands for, clear from the Quran and from the other hadiths in general. On the other hand, those who take the view, which is my view, that the children will be in paradise, start with the basics. The basics is that everybody will be in paradise except those who deny the faith. And to deny the faith means you have to come to that state of moral consciousness where you can evaluate the faith and say, well, no, I don't want this. Knowing that it is, seeing all of the proofs and so on and still denying it. But of course, that does not occur with children. They are born on the fitra, the natural disposition to know and worship God. And they did not grow to that age where they could deliberately turn away, and therefore they are on the path to paradise. And when their life is cut short while they are on the path to paradise, and that's where they will end up.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
If you enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe, and please donate to support our work at QuranSpeaks.com.